Hello everyone and welcome to this IABM TV studio session. I have a pleasure to chat today with Mr. Steve Callanan, the CEO and co-founder of WIREWAX. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, very interesting. So today we have a chat around WIREWAX history and also how your company decided to target the niche or the market that you're operating today, and then we will also hear some interesting insights about the future of our industry. So firstly, Steve, could you introduce a little bit WIREWAX as a company and also provide us a short timeline of how did you, as a co-founder, end up in setting up WIREWAX?
Yeah, so WIREWAX has been in existence for about 10 years. It's primarily an interactive video technology business, and it's very well established. We have something like 35,000 users of a self-serve tool that allows people to upload videos and make them interactive. That technology is all powered by machine learning and artificial intelligence, so it will do things like face detection, recognition, object recognition, scene analysis and that sort of stuff. And all of that proprietary technology that we've been working on for the last decade is performing very well for an interactive video user, but actually what we wanted to do was see how that technology could be applied to other businesses and industries where you may want to process large archives of content rather than just one or two at a time. And that's when we started talking to our customers within the media and entertainment business, who obviously have large archives of content, and seeing what we could do to adapt some of our proprietary technology to help solve some of their biggest business problems. And that's when we started to discover that people had generally the same sort of issues with large archives, where they've been, poorly managed, poorly maintained, or they've been like full of hastily ingested content that hasn't necessarily been done to the best practice, and lack of metadata and all that sort of stuff. And so we started exploring ways that we could just adapt our technology to help solve some of these problems by using machines rather than using very sort of inefficient human processes that a lot of these sort of bigger broadcasters and movie studios have been doing for since the beginning, really. And so those sort of challenges were things like deduplication of assets that might be on their archive, matching assets that are near duplicates but just slightly different, so it might be like regional variants or compliance versions and that sort of thing, and then grouping those together. And then other simple things like program segmentation, so automatically identifying where things like color bars, technical slates, program parts, opening and title credits and those sort of things. And then other things like speech recognition for subtitle generation. And then of course all of the stuff that we're sort of best known for, which is then the sort of visual scraping of that content to create a very powerful database, searchable database of things that are in the video, so things you can see. Again, people, objects, products, locations, landmarks, that sort of thing. And so we've got this whole suite of technologies that we've been essentially working on for the last decade, but we've only really started to apply to the media and entertainment industry in the last sort of 6 to 7 months. Okay.
And you mentioned like 10 years ago when the company was established, where you did the first ones in the market. So has the competition changed now with the emergence of OTT and all this new media?
Yeah, so I think the thing that sort of makes us unique to anybody else in the business is that we have spent the last 18 months or 2 years probably speaking directly with our customers or potential customers about what is it that they need machines to do that they're currently doing manually. And so we have this sort of very exclusive access to some of our customers that have told us explicitly what it is that they need machines to do. And so we have built exactly to their specification. What's more is that rather than creating just a kind of off-the-shelf software as a service solution, which you may find, there's lots of people out there that offer, off-the-shelf kind of metadata extraction tools or computer vision tools, that sort of thing, is that those customers tend to not have the technical capability of being able to, first of all, send their data off to those third-party services, and second of all, then take whatever comes back from those services and turn that into real, valuable, tangible value. And so So we're all about sort of completing the entire workflow from end to end. So we help the customer get those assets ingested into a system, process all the content, and then whatever we can generate at the end, give that back to them in something that gives them real potential value and purpose. So that's what sets us apart.
Yeah, very interesting. Still getting back to this, let's say, history of WireWAX. When you set up the company a decade ago, where did you start from, which market, and have you now expanded to other markets as you have very, very big global clients?
Yeah.
So where is your presence? What is the presence looking like today?
Yeah, so I guess we've always had quite a prestigious client list, especially with the interactive video service, and then that technology is very well established now and power something like 90% of the world's interactive videos, and so there's a lot of connection with some of the bigger brands. I mean, one of our first customers when we started doing that was Nike, and then Adidas saw it, and then they wanted to do the same, and we started doing a lot more then with broadcasters, so the BBC, ITV in the UK. We became the preferred supplier of interactive video for the whole of NBC Universal Group in the States, and then we started working wider with the studios like MGM and Paramount and a whole bunch of others. And so it's that connection that we have with those top tier media and entertainment customers that allowed us to get that exclusive access to them to try and find out exactly what it is that they needed for something like our service to help them solve.
And how about Asia Pacific region? Do you have also customers in that region? And of course, AI applications are also increasingly important in that part of the world as well. Is it geography?
So we do a lot of stuff with the APAC region, and actually LATAM is probably one of the fastest growing markets for us on the interactive video side. But with WIREWAX Media Services, we're doing a lot of stuff directly with those markets, but also by proxy through some of those global M&E industries that have presence in that space as well.
And when you started, I mean, given the fact that WireWAX is a pioneer in this market, has it been difficult? Was it difficult at the beginning to explain what you do and what your technology targets were, and how you were solving these issues that you mentioned that different customers were actually having, which were similar? So was it difficult to explain what you do? Because at the time, I guess, still the AI space was less developed as it is today.
Yeah. Well, I guess no, not really, because essentially everyone's got the same problems and everyone's complaining about there being a lack of resource or lack of technology to be able to solve some of these problems that are, like I said, being done very manually and very inefficiently at the moment. And so it's very much at the top of people's minds that they're looking for a solution like this. So when we can demonstrate quite quickly how the technology works, it all runs within a web browser, so they can look at it themselves. I can show them on a laptop and demonstrate visually how the technology works in an instant, demonstrate an end-to-end example of something, content being ingested, being processed, and then the results being presented. Because we're able to demonstrate that in such a visual form.
Right.
Of course, you can do it all through an API as well, but just so the way that we can create this kind of graphical experience that helps demonstrate it in its clearest form has really helped us a lot. I think that's the differentiation between us, is that we are taking a sort of very visual video medium, processing it in a very sort of algorithmic, programmatic way, but then being able to present that data back in a way that becomes much more digestible.
Very interesting. Actually, my next question would have been, and actually is, that what is really the key advantage of WireWAX over others in this space?
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's all about the dedication we've got to making this a completely friction-free experience for our customers. So, like I said, there's no point having all of these like fancy AI and computer vision tools if the customer has still got to figure out a way to get their stuff in through those services and then take whatever comes out of it and turn it into something that's of real value for them. And so that's what sets us apart, is that we are stitched into the entire experience and what the customer's wanting from the process, and so then we make sure that we give them everything that they need, and it's all about efficiencies and friction-free process and improving workflow rather than adding more headaches to an already difficult process.
Yeah, definitely. Then looking into the future, how do you envisage the future of technology in the media and entertainment industry, and what are your kind of insights to the technology horizon?
Yeah, it's an interesting point really, especially in the media and entertainment industry right now, in that there's so much that's changing. It's changing so fast,
Yes.
and obviously with the pressures now of content owners and content factories to create more content ready for streaming services, there is a pressure now to update archive systems to increase the efficiencies of technologies that they've already been using for the last several decades and make those better. Interestingly, the paper that Movie Labs did about where the technology is going for 2030, it directly relates to the technologies that we are helping those industries adopt now. And so it's all about, taking some of those very archaic systems and the way that people have traditionally handled assets through not just storing them but distributing them and through syndication and everything else, and completely revolutionizing that system and updating it and turning it into something that will be future-proof for the next few decades onwards.
Yes, and you mentioned 2030. How about 5G? Does it have a role to play in your business, and are you preparing for the 5G era?
Yeah, so definitely for our interactive video service rather than the sort of media services offering. We have always struggled with the limitations of bandwidth for mobile services, and so when we're distributing video content where we're expecting audiences to lean forward and tap on content that they're seeing and do things like buy products that they see or change the narrative of the storyline, they all require this two-way conversation between the end user and the server, if you like.
Yes.
And so we are currently restricted by the limitations of things like 4G and sometimes 3G services that don't allow us to do much more creative things that we'd like to. For example, things like being able to switch videos that you're watching in real time and dynamically without there being, a latency or a buffering time. Or even things like simple 360 videos that we all know as huge video files, but you're only ever looking at a small subsection of that video. And so being able to get the same quality that people are used to on traditional video content, it's very difficult to get to with 360 under the limitations of the current networks.
We look forward to the new
era.
era.
No, it should be pretty exciting. And creatively, it means opening up so many different opportunities to creative teams to do much more with the technology that in most cases already exists.
Yes, very interesting, and thank you very much for all your insights. And I can imagine that our audience is very, very fascinated by the content and also the technology that WIREWAX is providing. Thank you very much for this
You're very welcome.
interview.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.